Hi, I'm Marion Adler.
I'm Scott Wentworth.
And we are going to be performing with the London Symphonia Love Story, which is a series of letters between Clara Schumann and Johannes Brahms. This was a sort of a pet idea of mine. I was always intrigued by Clara and Brahms, and the idea of presenting these intriguing letters with the Symphonia by changing the way Brahms's music is presented and Clara's music and Robert Schumann's music. We're going to start with the first movement of Brahms's Third Symphony and use the movements as a kind of pillar through the evening, and then between those movements intersperse the letters and some of Clara's writing and some of Brahms' writing and some of Robert's writing.
Clara Schumann and Brahms had a very long relationship that lasted through most of their lives, and were quite avid correspondents. There are hundreds of letters, some of which were destroyed by them, but most of them, fortunately, were saved. And Marion spent copious hours digging through them to create not so much a narrative, but a kind of taste of their relationship and how it was reflected in their music, and also a glimpse of what their personal lives were like.
Mm-hmm. I found it so fascinating to follow, as well, 9 letters out of hundreds and hundreds, the beginning of the relationship with Brahms. Brahms was sort of adopted by Clara and her husband Robert. He was 16 years her junior, and I guess that made him 26 years younger than Robert Schumann. But they sort of took him under their wing, and the first letters between them are formal, and Brahms's letters are sort of infatuated. And you feel that Clara has a certain sort of matronly relationship to him. But as time goes by, that relationship deepens, and it becomes, well, because so many of the letters were destroyed, and I think they were destroyed because Clara and Brahms felt the need for discretion. But as time goes by, this relationship really, it turns into a truly dynamic and very unusual in its reach kind of relationship. One of the things I loved about reading Clara's letters was her chastising Brahms at one point. She was considered the virtuoso pianist of her time, and so she toured a lot. She was always going off to the UK or going around Europe, and at some of those times Brahms actually moved into her home and helped look after the children. She had 7 kids that she was raising on her own after Robert Schumann died. And at one point he suggests that maybe she's touring a little too much and it was time to, hang up the touring shoes. And she wrote this letter that was so scalding about how could he think that she was doing this for pleasure? She was raising her kids, and on and on. It's wonderful, and I included it in the evening. But I wanted to mention that we also have, speaking of virtuoso pianists, Stephan Sylvestre will be joining us, a wonderful pianist, and he will be playing variations on many themes, but both Clara and Brahms wrote variations on themes by her husband Robert, and those will be included in the program.
One of the things I think is extraordinary about this evening will be a glimpse into the personalities and perhaps even give us a context for some of the music. As a relative layman to serious music, you think of Brahms in the way one thinks of Beethoven and Mozart as this kind of figure that sits on top of a piano, and I've run into that in my experience with Shakespeare, where you read a Shakespeare play and it's quite daunting, and because it's so challenging and so dense and so full of material, and yet when you see it in performance, it is personalized by the actors in a way that one can lose that sense of being intimidated or daunted by it. And our intention is, and our hope is that by including these letters in the program, to give a sense of that these were human beings, and they had passions, and in addition to their lofty artistic ambitions and desires and talents, that they also had to worry about raising kids and figuring out travel itineraries and all of the stuff that normal human beings do. And so we're hoping that this will allow a fuller experience and a fuller appreciation of the music. The concert itself is on the 28th of September at 7:30 at Metropolitan United Church in London, and we hope to see all of you there.
Yes.